This is Harry Judd for Boxing Social. I'm delighted to be joined by Kalle Sauerland. Just finished the press conference of Paul-KSI versus Dillon Danis. Unfortunately, no show. Just first of all, how disappointed are you that Dillon hasn't showed on a Zoom call, let alone in face-to-face, mate?
Yeah, I'm not reading too much into it. Unfortunately, my age shows at this stage when you've sort of seen that before, and fun and games. And, you know, I think it's a little bit of a I don't dance to their tune sort of attitude is what it is.
Will it be financial penalties? Because, you know, he's not doing his media obligations, really.
Yeah, you're certainly right on that. Also, I could also tell you, I'm not going to tell them on air, but there's certain ways that fighters can get around that as well. So I'm also aware of loopholes in the system. But at the end, look, we got a fight.
Yeah, of course.
Fight week's going to be even more interesting. That face-off was going to be spicy today. I can tell you that from having done the face-off between the two of them with the armed police in Texas. But the face-off in fight week has just got so spicy, I'm thinking about bringing in the army.
You're thinking about obviously getting in the gym a little bit more as well, Kalle. I know you try to beef up as much as you can for the press conferences. Obviously going to need to be more than ever, I think.
Benching 130 this morning, kilos. Yeah. But
no need though, unfortunately. No need.
I know. I've almost in my shoulder in as well, so I'm gonna have to have a very healthy Christmas to conduct that face-off. It's gonna be an interesting one, that's for sure.
Obviously another Misfits card. You and Joe quite compellingly mentioned the success of Misfits. What is obviously you mentioned, and Joe mentioned it more than anything in terms of this is just the start. Where can you see this going in sort of like say 2 years, 5 years time?
You know, I think it's a space that's huge. It does huge numbers. You see that in, you know, the interest around the events, not just the pay-per-view events, but also the regular events, the base events. And you've seen the success of the series, whether it's been in Sheffield, in Austin, at the O2 in London, now Wembley. You know, but it needs to be done on a regular basis. Like I said, wasn't interested in going down the path of we'll just promote KSI and, you know, do a few shows with him, and doesn't really tickle me at this stage of my career. So we wanted to do something big. I think we've succeeded in that. But big for me isn't about one event, it's about consistency. And for me, the nicest part is when I sat down today and looking through the running order, and you know, the names are coming. It's repetition. It's like you know. So I'm trying to bring in that sort of stable feel into it, that of classic boxing, but not really for us, but more for the fans, the consumers, the media at the end of it. Because, you know, once you've done an interview with Salt Pappy the first time, the second time gets better, the third time it is the same thing with watching them. So the more we can see them on, the more regular we get the regular names in. And I'm not saying we don't want new names, because names will come and go and they'll fall away, and, you know, some won't be interested in getting punched in the face too often. We know that. And like I said, you know, up there today, for me it's just incredible, like KSI and his mentality towards the sport. You know, you get into pro boxing for very simple. A, you got to be good at the sport and love the sport. B, you do it for the money, and C, you do it for the fame. Those are, and even to C, you might leave out. Some might not do it for the fame. Some will do it for the success. But the money is interlinked with world titles, of course. But he's ticked the boxes. He don't need the money, don't need the fame. So he's doing it really for the only other reason that's possible is that he really loves it. You know, he loves to fight. You know, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Isn't that a little bit more of like a promoter's dream? He'll fight anyone, really. If it's not for the money, it's not for the fame, not for the success, it means he'll fight anyone just to get into the ring. But surely there are limitations to that as well.
Although what I would say about him is he's very different to, and people said, oh, but you came out and said, like, you know, the Paul shouldn't fight Mayweather. And I would still say the same bloody thing. Now, you can watch that as an exhibition, but I'm not really into that. I like these novice fights because they come up with some bloody good tear-ups, and some are a pretty decent level, and some are an absolute rubbish level. Let's be honest, you know. But that's the exciting part, isn't it? And JJ's also very open about, like, he put out something recently, you know, Beterbiev You must be joking. Like, are you serious? Yeah, like I would fight Beterbiev. So he's very tongue in cheek. He's very realistic about it as well. You know, and you know, he said what his goal is, and his goal is to fight. He wants to fight Jake Paul and beat Jake Paul, but he's happy to fight the other names in this space along the way.
One of the main aspects of these Misfits cards, and Joe quite eloquently put it, was it's a crossover, hopefully, to maybe more traditional types of boxing. You can't speak for DAZN in terms of their audience and things, but in terms of your audience, are you seeing more of a crossover, or is that just...
Well, listen, it doesn't take a genius to work out that if kids aren't watching boxing, you're going to need a way to sell them into boxing. And it would be pretty apparent that people like KSI with their 100 million subscribers and whatever are a pretty good conductor of getting a young demographic to watch boxing. It might be this type of boxing, by the way, crossover boxing to start with, but I would say that I'd be pretty fucking right in saying that by watching crossover boxing, I have a better percentage chance to sell them boxing. I sound like a drug dealer there, but that's the truth of it. You are trying to get them even to understand what boxing is, and let's not break any bones about it. It's very simple. Boxing slept in the States for years, and the UFC appeared and took that demographic. They took the younger demographic, and to a long part, they're still holding on to it. You know, boxing's done a good job in the States of fighting back, and the numbers are getting better and better. But ultimately, UFC would never have been the UFC had boxing been doing its part to bring in that young demographic into boxing.
Yeah, I mean, what I was obviously trying to get on, obviously you can't real comment, but it has been spoken about a lot of the time in terms of, we want to be a crossover, just seeing if there's any type of information you can give us that it's actually seen a benefit from it. But I understand the sentiment.
It would be very difficult for us to measure. Yeah. I guess you look at other events, and can I say that now, the Channel 5 success numbers, especially on the last two events, are down to Misfits and our association to Misfits. I could spin that one on you. I don't think many people will believe me. Let me try and say, yeah, that's what it's down to. But, thanks for trying to tee it up, but I'll politely refuse. No, I don't think you're not going to see it like that. And, it's a case of hopefully a few kids pick up the gloves and go into a gym as well. That's really what it is. So, I'll leave. I'm sure DAZN has measuring tools to it, and it'll be interesting to see, do they stay on the DAZN platform? And I think they will, these young demographics, because they're getting fed on a monthly basis crossover boxing by Misfits.
I'm glad to try and help out though, Kalle. I'm glad to try and spin it for you.
It was an early Christmas present there. Thank you very much.
Some of the fighters that were mentioned on that card was Tommy Fury as well. I mean, his name is synonymous now, as it seems, with Misfits cards and influencers, etc. Is that KSI Jake Paul fight, though, is it going to be your AJ Fury, the fight that we always speak about that goes on but we never ever see, Kalle?
What, the KSI Jake Paul, yeah? Yeah. I don't know. I think we'll see it. I think I do believe they both want it. I think it will be a lot of negotiation around it, but I think we will see it, yeah. On Tommy, I'd love to see Tommy box on Misfits, doors open, I get my number off Tyson and give me a call.
I heard it here first. I think that is a fight that I think many people would watch, boxing fan or Misfits fan. That is a crossover fight, I'd say.
He just has to ask his cousin. He knows my number, and he can give me a call any time, and we can talk about a fight on Misfits.
Moving swiftly on to other things within boxing, away from the Misfits card, I spoke to Dillon Smith the other day in Liverpool at his gym. Stories regarding the sparring that they had a few years ago, or back in a few years ago. Anything that you know about Dillon Smith dropping Eubank at all?
No, what I love about the build-up on that one is that the stories get wilder. Like at the beginning, it was they sparred, right? Okay, they sparred. Then it was, he hurt him to the body. He hurt him to the body. Now it's, he knocked him out the ring, and to get paramedics. I don't know what's next. you know, but that's all part of a build-up, and we all love it, you know. And I saw a post from Eubank Junior yesterday or this morning, where with Roy Jones punching
the medicine ball, yeah.
And was that like his way of saying, you come for the body, you come for the body? I mean, yeah.
Because he's weak at the body.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I think they had a spar. Junior, and I believe him, can't even really remember the spar. I don't think Smith really remembers the spar either. You know, they spar lots and lots around, lots of different people. It was clearly a very innocuous spar. So, yeah, let's build the fight up though. Let's say, you know, it was a knockout, and let's say it was a body shot or it was a head shot or whatever you want to call it. You know, run with it.
Looking forward to that fight in next year. That's a massive, massive fight. But I have to speak about, obviously, your initial reaction to the Conor Benn statement that was released a few days ago.
Yeah, you know,
was it as expected?
I mean, what's he supposed to say? He's been, you know, he's obviously under a legal muzzle. So it read like a Christmas card to me. I don't know. There was like nothing in it apart from one word that was significant, and that was contamination. And that shows a little bit about, I guess, the path they're going up. But that's down to him and his legal team. The rest of it was it felt read like an end of year Christmas card.
Do you sympathise with the public and also yourself, though? 'Cause you're heavily involved in this. That we want to get. Why is it taking so long to get any information out, really?
Yeah, it's a fault on everyone involved in the sport. I think from the promoter level to the governing bodies, that we need to look at ourselves and the promoters and us as well. We need to be putting more pressure on that the governing bodies are quicker in their decision making, and that the whole process of this is ridiculous. It's like, you know, the Treaty of Versailles. Yeah, I mean, this is, you know, it's just, we're in December and we're still talking about something that happened
in October.
And, you know, I know it was huge and it's big and it's gigantic, and if it ever does happen, it'll be a monstrosity of a huge fight. But ultimately, the boxing has to look itself in its face, and we have to, because are we putting enough pressure on these systems? Why weren't we afforded that hearing before the fight? And I mean directly when the result was made clear to us. Why wasn't there a hearing? Why wasn't that done? Those are the questions that, in the aftermath, having now been able to breathe deep, is to say, why was that not the case? And yes, I think, you know, there was a few mistakes made in fight week as well, and I'm not going to say that some of the interviews I gave were maybe a bit excitable and whatever, but I was very angry. I was very angry with the system failing. And the system failing doesn't mean that the fight should have gone ahead, not gone ahead, whatever. I'm talking about the system of how the whole situation was treated. And that really wasn't a system. There wasn't a system in place. There wasn't one. And that's something that has to change.
And finally then, on Misfits, what's the testing regime with Misfits then, on the same sentiment?
It depends on the local commissions. We're in Texas now, we're under the Texas Commission, so, you know, it's...
and this fight will be under?
We're under the PBA in the UK.
Kalle, thanks for your time, and thanks for your time all year round.